And Samantha, I'll go with you first, Samantha. She says, my husband cheated, and thank you for bringing up this topic, Chris. How do I get past it? I've forgiven him, but my body can't get past it.
Well, your body actually doesn't have a point of view. Sorry. So you might ask, what's so valuable about holding on to any point of view? You see, here's something really, perhaps bizarre. When you say I've forgiven him, is that light or heavy for you? You see, often, and I'm just throwing this out there, when something's light, it just opens up possibilities. When something's heavy, it's usually a decision or a conclusion, and it closes down any possibility of anything greater. So how many of us who've decided, that's how many of you who've decided, that when you forgive someone, you see, there's no gifting in there. It's almost a superiority to say that you've forgiven someone, as if because you're now holding them liable to what they've been forgiven for. I don't know if that makes any sense. You see, when we say I forgive you, it's a superior point of view rather than truth. Are you an allowance of what he's choosing? Are you an allowance of where you can be right now? So I might ask you, when was the marriage over? Would you be willing to create something different? Now, when I say ask when was the marriage over, it's not about that the marriage is over, that's it, divorce time. It's more like, I've been married for over 35 years, so there's many times when our marriage has been over and I'm willing to say, okay, wow, this isn't working for me. Now what else is possible? What can we create here that's greater than what we had? So there's no forgiveness, there's no I'm giving up me, or you have to give up you. It's more like, okay, so let's kind of acknowledge what this just isn't working. So what could we create greater? What could we create that would create the kind of communion that we're asking for and the right relationship for you? Because what's right for you isn't going to be right for somebody else. It has to work for you.
So Susan, when I've been a creator of that massively in my life, and when it comes to that restarting in that relationship, I got hung up in, okay, well, all the connections I thought that were there are no longer there. So I felt like I had no platform to stand on and to start rebuilding. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So for those of you who we're going to talk a little bit about connection and communion, okay? Because we think that we have to have connection with somebody. We have to be connected. We have to be on the same page. Well, what if that wasn't really true? For instance, with Ricky, I can be traveling anywhere all over the world. I know I'm connected to him. And we're also creating our relationship at the same time. If I didn't have that ongoing communion and creation, the connection wouldn't matter. But often people look to be connected first before they start creating something greater. A relationship is like anything else. It changes and shifts all the time. So Tammy, when you're speaking about coming from your platform, just to give people a little bit of information who haven't heard that before, the platform is basically what you create from. So for instance, my platform would be adventure, discovery, communion, consciousness, the willingness to always be in the question without judging. So what can I create from that? What stems from that? Joy, adventure. I'm very comfortable being alone. I'm very independent. So I'm going to be looking for someone who vibrates to a similar platform. So Ricky, for instance, very independent, kind, caring, has a sense of himself, builds his own life, builds his own relationships with his friends, having nothing to do with me. So we are constantly creating our own lives that add to who we be, the communion of who we be. We're not based on that we're connected. We don't have to have the same kind of friends to be connected. We don't have to like the same kind of foods. We don't have to. You kind of get that? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, definitely. That's brilliant the way that you asked that question. So really it's, what is your platform? If your platform is total allowance of whatever shows up, and you know, maybe you have a codicil to that, maybe whatever shows up, as long as it doesn't harm anyone, as long as it doesn't, whatever that is, that's your platform. And so what vibrates to that, there's no superiority in there. Did I give you any information on that? I kind of went off on a sidetrack.
Actually, yes. And as you were speaking, I realized that I have always created relationship as something outside of me. Yeah. So it had its own platform. I wasn't even in the damn equation. It was over there, and I'm over here, and wow.
I love that you said that, Tammy. That's so, I love that, because that's exactly what people do. It's like, okay, here's my life, okay, and now here's the relationship that I want to have. Yeah. So, you know, and I won't let this person really know that I really have this kind of life going on. I'll just reapply and remake myself to fit into their life to see how it works, so we can be connected and have a relationship based on that connection, rather than the communion of both of us creating something greater and seeing if that actually vibrates, if that works. You know, does it? Because sometimes, you know, you can have a great copulation just for one night, just for 3 nights, just for 3 months, and then the next day you wake up and you go, ooh, really? Well, how much were you actually willing to be in communion? Did you connect just through great sex, or did you connect just that you both like chocolate sundaes and a hot summer night? And then all of a sudden it's winter and you're like, I'm not so crazy about those chocolate sundaes anymore. And it's not to discount what you were creating. It's like, what else is possible here? What else? It's always what else is possible. Does this create the kind of communion that I'm asking for? Is being with this person a contribution? If it's not, it's not. And that's just, it's that simple. Will this contribute to my life? You know, like, I'll just be totally vulnerable. Before we started this hangout, we were having all these glitches and trying to do the hangout, and I had sent Tammy and Marcel, I said, okay, nobody's coming with questions, here's kind of a script we could play with. And I just got on and I was like, what is going on here? And there's something funky in the air. And then Tammy asked a question. She said, well, okay, so if we have this Google Hangout, will this be a contribution? And I got a yes, damn it. And so, see, it's that fast, it's that easy. It's like, what if everything that I was picking up about sex, sexualness, sexuality, sizzling summer, love, and had nothing to do with me, had to do with other people's points of views, and that having this Google Hangout today was really what was required to change something on the planet. And that's vibrating to your platform, which has to do with question and inquiry and curiosity, and the willingness to shift every 10 seconds.